So I think we've all been there on the bench press. We bench pressed 135 last week, 155, and what's the next number? 185, right? But is that potentially a mistake when it comes to progressive overload in a very accurate manner? Now, what do I mean? What I mean is stop making such big jumps if you are wanting to accurately progressive overload, because it works like this. If we're going to break it down to the basis of what the workout is doing, the workout is stimulating the muscle to hopefully stimulate it enough to recover and then super compensate and put on more muscle tissue, layer down more muscle tissue, bigger fibers, right? The type 2 fibers, ideally, because they're bigger than the type 1 and they get recruited under maximal force on those last couple of reps. And then after the supercompensation has been completed, you should be able to create more force now with that muscle, which means if the muscle tissue has been laid down, the fibers have grown, even if it's microscopic, you should be able to produce more force and lift a little heavier weight. And when I say a little heavier, this is what I'm saying. People go from 155 and then they go straight to 185. Do the same number of reps, let's say. In their head, they're progressive overloading, because I was this guy on squats, where I was gaining a rep or two every week. But looking back on it, I was just moving the weight faster. How did I gain 5 reps within 2 workouts, with the same weight, at the same body weight? It doesn't really make sense, And I was speeding up the reps. So if you're benching 155 for 6, let's say, maybe you could do 156. Maybe it's 155 and a half. So you can take these progressions week after week, or however often you train that body part again. I'm just using bench press as an example because people can relate to it pretty much. So if you take too big of jumps, you will run into this, there's not really an issue with taking bigger jumps if you just want to go in the gym and train and grow some muscle over time. You probably will. If you're training hard enough and you're eating and you're sleeping and all these things, but those are the main 3: eating, sleeping, training. But if you want to accurately measure your progress throughout the weeks and have a mission when you go into the gym, and when you complete it, the job has been done. So we're in this however long, decades long mission to layer down more muscle tissue week by week. That's how I think of it. I am layering down muscle tissue. Project. People talk about it's a project, but we don't have to get too in depth when it comes to the psychological component to it. But I think if there's something to take from this video, it would be to think about progressive overload, what it really means, what I've just been talking about in the last couple of minutes, stronger over time. But if you want to break it down to the smallest form, workout by workout, you can increase the load, because increasing the load is easier most of the time than adding a rep. It's going to be a much smaller percentage when it comes to an increase versus adding a rep. I talked about this in one of my previous videos. This is going to require you to have some micro plates if your gym doesn't have any. Some gyms have 2.5. The gym I go to, an LA Fitness near me, it works. They have 2.5s, but I just picked up some micro plates all the way down to 0.25 pounds. Because if I'm gonna do a side lateral, for example, and I'm using 15 pounds, I'm not sure exactly how much I'm actually creating, but the stack says 15. So let's just use that. So if I were to add 0.25, well, if I were to add 0.25, that is, I mean, that's less than 1% of the total load. So you're not going to be able to put on a 2.5 every single time. You'll be side lateraling 100 pounds on the cable stack. Probably not going to happen over time. And if you don't have the micro plates and you try to progressive overload with the 2.5s on everything, then you're gonna end up changing the form, speeding up the reps. You're gonna speed up the reps. You might bend your arm a little bit to get it closer to you so you're stronger. You might rest way too long. Not that there's a limit, but you're just wasting time at some point. You're gonna run into a wall eventually. So, something to think about. Maybe you like it, maybe you don't. Something I'm experimenting with at the moment. I was that guy who just added 25s to each side on the squat, 225, and then you just, we're going 275 now for the same reps. Obviously, something's gonna give. Repetition speed is gonna increase. I always went same depth, but the speed definitely increased. And you might get a couple workouts of this idea that you're getting stronger, and maybe I was, but it's just not accurate. So if you want to be accurate, you could buy some micro plates, and because most gyms probably don't have those. We're talking 1 pound plates, 0.75, 0.5, 0.25. So probably just buy it on Amazon or whatever. So think about it. You know, if you don't like it, then go back to the bro way of lifting. So that's it for this one.